Hello again. Once again, today is Saturday, and I welcome those who are here to join me. And we're going to speak about astrology and why it is important for every therapist to know Vedic astrology in comparison to Western astrology. The reason for Vedic astrology is because it's a lot more accurate. It's based on a very small window rather than a 30 degrees window. In Western astrology, we talk about 30 degrees. We talk about old age, young, and middle age. Whereas in Vedic astrology, it talks about 15 seconds interval. That means if two people are born, twins, next to each other, you find that if it takes more than 15 seconds, the character is totally different. And as you know, you don't get twins born within a few seconds. It takes a few minutes. So that is why you find that the character is different. Like when the other thing is this, when we read about, oh, I'm Sagittarius because I'm born between this month and this month. Or I'm Aries because I'm born in April. That is also not true. Your basic rising sign is based on every 2 hours the clock is ticking. Okay, so the zodiac signs, if you know, there are 12 of them, which are divided by the 24-hour cycle that we have. That's how our 24 cycle comes about. So every 2 hours, the house changes. So the planet that rules you change, and the nature of the planet changes. So you can't base on just saying that I'm born such a month, so this is my zodiac sign. So what you read in newspapers and magazines are not real true astrology. I mean, it's a good indicator for within that period what type of character a person is. But you and everybody else born in the same month are not going to be similar. For that, you need to go and find a reading that would give you within a few seconds what you are. So, I don't want you all to become an astrologer to be a therapist. That would be a tall order, because it's going to take you a long time to learn the whole art. But what is important is you have to know something, the basic things, to know what the person's character is going to be like. So now, in the old days when I first started, I had to sit down and work out everyone's chart manually. That took a long time. Today we have very good astrology programs where we can actually go and just type our name, our time of birth, our place of birth, and time and place of birth, and the date of our birth. That's all. And the computer will do all the calculation for you. So basically, you need to know what your ascendant is, or in Vedic astrology is known as Lagna, Lagna. Then you need to know what your Rasi is, which is where the moon is situated. And then finally, you want the constellation, which is known as Nakshatras. Now, Nakshatras are very important because it speaks about it speaks about a very small window of your chart. Okay, because every 30 degrees, there are 2.5 nakshatras. And within the nakshatras, there are 4 stages. So even that 13.5 degrees Even that, there is another break on 4 by 4 again. So you're working on a very small window to find exactly who you are. What is your blueprint? What is the frequency? What are the sound frequencies that work with you? What your name should be. This is a very important thing because the Vedic astrology would find out all the different frequencies that you have within you. Then you have what your guna, what type of guna you have. What's your nature? Okay, what are you born? What are your characteristics? So when you do, like, you can go to a program known as Astro Sage, where you will find that you can draw your own chart with just entering your date, time, and place of birth. Then you have, it'll come up with some details about you. The simple one is like, it'll say, what is your lagna? Okay, and then what is your lagna lord? So that lagna lord, like for instance, Leo, sun is the lord. So sun becomes an important. Sun also represents your soul, your lagna, your soul. What's your soul journey? Okay, where is your sun placed to determine what is your lagna gives you what's your personality. Okay, but the sun gives you what your soul is. So if you have a Leo lagna, then your soul and your personality are interconnected. But that doesn't mean your sun will be placed in Leo either. It could be placed in, say, Cancer. So when it's placed in Cancer, then you find that your soul seeks spiritual life. Because for a Leo, 12th house is Cancer. It is finishing. It's the end of your journey, sort of thing. Before you go back into Leo, which is beginning again. So being the end, your 12th house, your sun is in the 12th house, then your expression, your soul seeks spiritual life. Because that's what we do when we want to go back, the last part of our life. Then you have what is known as Rasi, R-A-S-H-I. That determines where your moon is. So this is very important as well, because the moon defines your emotions. So with Vedic astrology, we don't only base on personality, or we don't base only on the sun sign, but we also base it on the moon sign. We give a lot of importance to the moon because our behavior, our pattern of life, and what we achieve, what we do, is based on our emotions. The emotion determines, you may have a very powerful Leo, like rising sign, okay, which gives you a strong personality. But on the other hand, your moon can be in a sign where it's very weak. So you can be very disturbed character at the same time. So it always, then you find that your life is not as what your ascendant wants you to go, but what your emotions or where your soul wants, but how you react to your emotion determines who you are. So for that matter, we make sure that we need to know a lot about the Rasi. Then you have the Rasi Lord. Then you have the Nakshatra. The Nakshatra will say what type of emotional state you are in, what type of character you are. Okay? From the Nakshatra, you find that as far as your emotions are concerned, as far as your worldly life is concerned. That's what the moon determines. So the moon tells you, okay, if you're a deva, you're sensitive, you're highly spiritual, or your potential to be highly spiritual in this life is great, because in the past lives you've done, emotionally you've grown, you've developed very highly to a deva stage. And then you have the Brahman. Okay, for a Brahman, you are now in this life, you can, if you seek to know God within you, you will find it easily. And then you have, okay, that's the Deva and a Brahmin. Then you have the warrior Brahmin. And then you have the not actually, they're not demons, but they're known as Rakshas, and they're Brahmins as well. So within the Brahmin, you have all three of them. You have the Deva, you have the warrior, and you have the Raksha. Okay, so, and you have the human. So if you're a human, sorry, I've confused. Sorry for this confusing. Okay, you have the Deva, you have the human, you have the Raksha. Okay, the warrior comes under different class. So within that, so you can be a human. That means you got a bit of Deva and a bit of Raksha in you. And then you're the Raksha, and you have that aggressive fighter quality in you. Now, when you say Raksha, that doesn't mean you cannot be spiritual. Because as long as you're a Brahmin, then you have the opportunity of knowing God. And if you're Raksha, you actually would be a stronger personality in that. Because the pain that you go through is more, and the strength for you to fight that is also a lot stronger. With a human, he'll say, okay, they won't fight as hard because their troubles are not as hard. And for the Deva, they're very sensitive. The desire to become is strong, but they don't have the strength that the Raksha has. In fact, there's a lot of great masters like Muktananda, Yogananda, and the Hugging Mother now. They're all Rakshas, but they have high spiritual attainment. So it doesn't matter whether you're a Raksha, you're a human, or you're a Deva. If you seek spirituality, and if you're a Brahmin in any one of the three categories, the chances for you to become spiritually inclined is great. And if you put your effort into it, you will attain it. So as a teacher, or as a facilitator of any spiritual journey, especially like my favorite subject is the womb Shakti. You can't help women find their destiny, find their journey without them knowing, without you actually working out their astrology. Given that a lot of you would tell me, oh, I have, when I know someone, I can say what's their flavor, what their journey is, and so forth. Now, I ask you a simple question. When you meet a lover, considering that today most people had more than one or two lovers in their life. Where would the judgment gone wrong there? If any of you who are teaching out there can say that you are that powerful, that you met the first person you met and that was the person you've been with, then I would say you may be able to judge without trouble. That means your love is always beautiful. We cannot. That is why we use astrology. I mean, today, a lot of Indians out there, they think, oh, if the Westerners can fall in love and have sex before marriage, why can't we do the same? And then they think, oh, astrology is just another superstitious belief. How can the planet affect us? One of the first fundamental questions is this: ask every woman how her menstrual blood, the flow, the moon time, how does the moon time get affected? Is it the moon, or that's why they call it moon time? In that way, every planet has a frequency. That frequency has to resonate with the frequency within you. If they don't resonate, then you find there is disturbance. So when there is a frequency disturbance within your body, based on a particular planet, which means based on a particular characteristics of yourself, then that part of your character, that part of your journey gets disturbed. It is not that the planet affects you physically, they come and affect you, no. Or the deities that there are deities for each planet. You know, like Guru Bhavan is for Jupiter. Chandra Bhavan is for moon. Surya Bhavan is for sun. So in that way, in Vedic astrology, we have different deities that respond to different energetic flow. And that energetic flow is what we have within ourselves. So how we deal with it will depend on what the energy flow within our body is, how our body resonates with that energy flow. So for that reason, we need to know our blueprint. Or those who are teaching, first you need to know your own blueprint so that you don't fool yourself. Second, you need to know the blueprint of all your students. I know students of mine who play guru. They give their students names at random because they're lazy to take the trouble of finding out what nakshatra that person is. I'm talking about the emotional side of the person, okay? Because every planet has a nakshatra. Every planet can be depending on the house that the planet is situated. Okay, so if your planet is placed on a particular house, the name that you need to have would be based on that particular planet and that house. So in this case, like say when the moon, now we base on our moon because we want to make sure that we are emotionally stable. So then the moon energy has a certain frequency based on your nakshatra and the house that the moon is situated. So like for instance, if the moon is in Sagittarius, the sound is B-A-Y, B-O-J-A-A, and J-E-E. So anyone born with moon in Sagittarius with Ashlisha as the Yeah, moon in Sagittarius would have this sounds, okay? And Uttara Ashara is the nakshatra for that. So for Uttara Ashara, sun is the ruler of the nakshatra, and the name would be BAA, BO, JAA, and JE. So you can't give, when you have children, you don't give names at random. You give names according to their nakshatra or their ascendant. Okay? In the case of ascendant, you give them the name because then the name will affect their character. So what do you seek with a student of yours when you want to do an astrology and you want to give them a name will depend on which of the chart that you focus on. So if you focus on, say, the ascendant, then the nakshatra would be different, and the name that you have to give would be different. So you normally, when you go to the chart, you find planetary position. You know, when you do the chart, when you prepare the chart with Sage, you have so many different charts they have. And in their chart, you'll find planetary position. Then you want to know the age, what is the ascendant, what is the nakshatra for the ascendant. Okay? Then where the moon is, the sun is, you want to know what is your soul journey. Okay, then Mercury, you want to know the intelligence. Venus, you want to know the creativity. So each of these planets, how they function, will depend on the nakshatra that they are in. Okay? Based on the nakshatra, you know exactly how they will function and what they're capable of doing. So when you want to know about your student, you want to know the different you need to know what the ascendant is. You need to know what the sun is. And you need to know where the moon is. Okay? These are the three major parts of a chart that you want to know. And then you want to know what is the present position of your student. At the point when you meet, then you want to know whether they're going through Saturn return or not. These are the few things that I do, because I'm not here to be an astrologer to tell you when you're going to get married, when you're going to have children and so forth. But I'm more interested in the spiritual essence of your life. What's your journey? Where you're going to go? How your life is going to be? Then you go into finding out what Shani is going to do. Shani Sarasati or Saturn return, okay? Which is 7.5 years. Now, Saturn comes into your life in many periods of your life, actually. He appears for 12.5 years of your life. He comes 2.5 years twice, and 7.5 years. So within the 27 years that he goes around the zodiac, he comes into your life 4 times. for 12.5 years. So now Saturn is not a bad planet. It doesn't give you, it's not cruel planet, sorry. It puts challenges in your life. And you want to know when these challenges are going to be. But before you can determine how bad or how strong the challenges are going to be, you have to know the strength of the planet. How bad is Saturn in your life? Is Saturn really that bad, or is he that cruel in your life? Or is he just partially cruel? To know that, you want to know the Satbala. Shadbala. When you go there, you'll find a reading, okay, and also the relative ranking of the planets. So based on their ranking, you know their strength. Now the question is this: they can be ranked very highly, yet it can give you, what is this? May not give you that benefit that you want. So the question is whether they're beneficial, or are they, even though their ranking is high, they may not be as beneficial. So you need to know their strength. To what is their strength? Based on their strength, you know whether, for instance, whether Saturn will actually hurt you. Before you advise your client, your students, you have to tell them the periods where Saturn return is going to come. It doesn't come at 27 and 54, like a lot of Westerners people speak about it. Every time I hear people say, oh, I'm going towards my Saturn return because I'm going to be 27. No, it doesn't work that way. I mean, like my daughter, when she was 4 years old, she started her first Saturn return. It is where your moon is placed on your chart, and a house before the moon, and where the moon is placed, and the house next to the moon. All the three stages is when you go through Saturn return. Okay? So you have to know where the moon is. And when Saturn visits the house before the moon, in the moon house, and after the moon house, it affects you. But when it's in the moon house is when it's strongest. So for 2.5 years, it sort of prepares you for the hard journey. It shows you small bits of challenges in your life, mainly challenges for you to reform your life, okay? Not challenges to destroy your life. None of the planets are here to destroy you. They put you, it's either you go uphill or you go downhill. Okay, if the planets are uphill journey, they give you a bit more challenges. If it's a downhill journey, it's a bit more easier journey. So you just have to base on how the planets are and what their strengths are. And when you know the relative ranking of this planet, okay, and then you know what is their Sabbala, and what is the minimum amount of energy you need to, minimum point you need to have. So each planet has a minimum point, like 1.2, 1.3, that way. So what is the minimum? And then you find out what points you have. And that will decide to how each planet is going to behave with you. So if you have your planets where, say for instance, you have a weak Mars or Mercury or Jupiter, so what do you do to make it stronger will all depend on how much work you do onto aligning your inner planets. So all the 9 energies are within you, like all the gods are within you. Everything which is outside of you is within you. Okay, so to know what it is like outside of you, you have to know what is within you. Okay, so basically what you do is when you have a weak planet, when you're students or you have a weak planet, you make sure that you sort of do the mantras for the planet. Make sure that the sound goes within. You're not just, singing for the planets above you. They don't care about you. They're not even interested in you. But the planets within you are interested. Because if they don't resonate to the outer planet frequencies, they're going to be disruptive in your body. There's going to be problems for you. When there's problems for you, there's problems for all the energies within your body, the gods, goddesses everywhere. So it's all about tuning your body to the outer frequency of the planet. Say, when I want to do sun mantra, let's say, I need to strengthen my sun. Then I can go, Om Hreem 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 Suryaya Namah. Or I can go, Om. When I'm doing the Om, I'm basing on my right side of my body, okay? Because when I think of sun, I think of my right portion of my body. Then I go, Om Hreem 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 Suryaya Namah. So when I do that, I actually feel that energy within my body resonating. Why I only use Hreem instead of like everybody else, they have all nice, long, beautiful mantras. Now, Hreem is the sound for sun. Hreem is also the sound for Parvati or Adi Parasakti. Because she created the planet. And he is the ruler of the planet. So he's given Hreem. Then the softer energy is Lakshmi. Because she also represents inner prosperity. Without feeling good inside of you, you cannot balance the moon energy. Moon energy depends on emotion. So then you have your left side of your body, the feminine aspect of you. Then you go, Hreem, Hreem, Kleem, Chum, Chandraya Namah. So the sound has to go into the left side of your body to find that feeling. So this is why you do mantras. When you want to balance the energy within your body with the energy outside of you, then you have to do the mantras where the energy goes within. Because you can't shout from here to the moon, can you? Or to the sun. But you can definitely go within and speak to your body. Okay? Now, what does these houses mean to us? Okay. Now in Vedic astrology, the houses don't change. It's all square chart, and where there are 12 squares, and you start with, say, let's start talking with Aries. So Aries, we have Mars, that is the planet that control the lord of the house. It's a fire by nature. It's male. The quality is rajas. Okay, so and it represents the Manipura chakra. Okay, the Aries. Then you find Taurus. Taurus is governed by Venus. It's an earth sign. It's female. It is rajas. And then you have Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury. It is an air sign, which is male, which is rajas. Then you have Cancer, which is the lord is the moon. The sign is watery. It's female. It's sattva in quality. Then you have Leo, which is the lord is the sun. It's fire. It's male. Yet, even though it's male and fire, it's still a sattvic planet. So you find both the moon and the sun are sattvic. Then you have Virgo. Virgo is Mercury. The lord is Mercury, same as Gemini. It's earth. It's female. And it's tamas, the quality. Then you have Libra, which is Venus is the lord. It's an air sign. It's a male sign, and it's rajas. And Scorpio, it's ruled by Mercury, or the lord is Mercury. It's a water sign. It's a female sign. It's tamasic. Then you have Sagittarius, which is the lord is Jupiter. It's another fire sign. It's male. It's also sattva. It's also sattvic. Then you have Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn. It's earth sign. It's female. It's also tamasic. And then you have Aquarius, which is Saturn, ruled by Saturn again, which is an air sign, which is male and also tamasic. Both the Aquarius and Capricorn or Saturn is within the Muladhara chakra. Okay, so you know how the planets are and what their qualities are. So when you work on, so you know your responsibility as a teacher or as a person seeking to take on religious, spiritual life, would need to know a bit of Vedic astrology. I'm not asking you to become an astrologer. You can, if you're young and you wish to become an astrologer as well, or use astrology as your. Then with Vedic astrology, you have to learn a lot before you can be based compared to what you have to learn with Western astrology. Vedic is a lot more because it's more, that's about 16 different charts compared to your basic, one circle chart of the Western. You have to know the different. So every portion of your life it's charted out, and then they calculate all of them to know basically, from based on your father, your mother, your brothers, your sisters, your uncles, your aunties, your whole generation influence you. The environment you're born influence you. So they work out each portion of your life and then decide, like say for instance, where's Jupiter in this one, where's Jupiter in the next one, where's Jupiter in the third house. They work out each place where Jupiter is to know how strong or weak Jupiter is. So it's not based, like for instance, someone will say, oh, you have Jupiter in your rising. If a Western astrologer sees me, or even a basic Indian astrologer who doesn't go to the trouble of learning everything, because some of them learn a few things and then they become astrologers. They look at the basic chart, they'll say, Jupiter, I'll be very rich. I'll be this, I'll be that. Or if they see Rahu in the 12th house, then they consider you terrible. Or Venus and Rahu together. But that's not what it is, because Rahu also gives you another impulse where you have to go through spiritual. It gives you always two impulses, okay? The negative impulse is what you do, all the wrong things you'll do in your life. And the positive impulse is all the good things you can do. So as an astrologer, we have to tell them both the impulses and let them decide which impulse they want to. And we, as a teacher, we help them take on the positive qualities of each planet, of each house, what each planet would do to them. So as a teacher, as a tantric, your basic reason to know astrology is to know your strength and weaknesses of your planets, when Saturn return is coming, and how you can balance this energy. So next week, what I'm going to do is this. We're going to do all the mantras of all the planets so that you know. So go to Astrosage. I have no partners I'm not a partner of Astrosage, okay? It's only it's on the net, it's free. You can do for yourself and you can do for your family and friends, or even for your students. The first, I think, 10 charts you can save. After that, you don't save them, you just print them out, say print, and go to PDF. It print out PDF and save the file instead of printer. In that way, you can have the 10 that you save on their program is ones that you want to see quite regularly. Okay, that is for yourself, your family, or your children. But the students you can print out so that you have them in file. So every time you talk to them, you can remember what planets influence them, how they behave, and what you have to do to help them. Because you need to know the blueprint of all your students. Without knowing their blueprint, you're not going to help them. So here again, I'm not telling you how to be an astrologer, but I'm saying is this, what you need to learn so that you can be helpful to your students. Okay, my dear friends, do you have any questions? While you're thinking of the question, I'd like to give you one more mantra, which is basically Jupiter. because we all want Jupiter's blessing as teachers or as tantrics. To learn Tantra, you need to learn, you need the blessing of your inner guru. Your inner guru is Jupiter, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. That's why in Hinduism, in Tantra, we go Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara. So you have Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Lord Shiva. So the first you call upon them. Then you call upon Jupiter. Now Jupiter mantra is Now you need the sound or to travel to your third eye, okay? So you look towards your third eye. You roll up your eyes towards the third eye. Your pubic has to focus on the third eye. You go Brahm Brahaspadaye Namaha Brahm Brahaspadaye Namaha Brahm Brahaspadaye Namaha. Now it looks like nobody has any questions, so you all understand what I've said so far, as I've reminded you again. To be a tantric teacher, to be a womb facilitator especially a womb facilitator, you have to know basic Vedic astrology. Because without knowing their blueprint, you're not going to be very effective in helping them. And those of you who are watching this video, I'm not an astrologer, okay? I only use astrology to find out what my students are, what their journey is, and how I can help them. And what I spoke to you all about today is basically how I do that. I look at the nakshatra, I look at the sub-ballad, and I look at what Saturn is doing with them. Because Saturn is a good teacher. And unless they learn, unless you or your students learn how to deal with Saturn, you'll be in trouble without knowing why you're in trouble. And then the question again, would you be in trouble with Saturn? Did you have a good past life? Okay, do you have a good karma with Saturn, with Moon, with Rahu, with Ketu? Depending on your karma, the planet's strength would be based on. So it's important to know what our karma is and what we have to do in this life to change that. How do we fulfill our purpose in this life? For that, we need to know our blueprint. And Vedic astrology is the one that can give us a very close indicator as to who we are, what our karma in this life is, and what we have to do to return home. The most important thing is you want to return home. You don't want to keep coming back to Earth. Because believe me, the world is changing very fast. I know a lot of New Age people will say, they've been saying this year 2000, 2012, and now they have another fast forward date when the world is going to transform and we are going to be really highly spiritual. Okay, I'm not very sure of that, but I'm very sure that we are here now. And with the coronavirus and all the other challenges, we need to be stronger. We need to find our path. We need our energy within our body to resonate with the energy outside of us, so that we find a lot more strength and a lot more purpose in what we're doing. Okay, thank you for being here. Vanakkam. Next week, as I said to you, we're going to you're going to learn how to do the mantras for the planets. So until then, keep smiling and work towards being harmonious in this life. And that would also help you in these hard periods. Thank you for being here.